In tonight's main event, Samoa Joe and Rey Fenix fight after Fenix cost Joe his Lucha Underground title rematch. Plus, we see Santos Escobar and Muertes on their mission to gather the Gauntlet of the Gods from whoever Santos sold it to. And the brilliant Dragunov teams up with the legendary Rey Mysterio once again. This is episode 22 of the revival of Lucha Underground, Bird of War Gone Dark. Santos Escobar and Muertes were walking down a dark path in a forest, having parked up their car at the end of it. Santos was talking, but Mil didn't respond, even when the leader of the cartel said that they could be doing all this work to revive Katrina, only for Dario Cueto to be planning to revive someone else. But just then they arrived at the door they were looking for. There was a large V on the door and a quote above about the devil. The door then slowly opened, and a mysterious voice said, "Leave." Santos began to back away, and then a hand poked out, pointed at Mil Muertes, and said, "You stay." Santos took off at a pace. Dragunov and Rey Mysterio are beloved by the believers in the temple, but they also appreciate the hardcore, never say die clowns who can fight and beat just about anyone. They kept Rey Mysterio grounded and crucially kept Dragunov on the apron waiting for a tag, but eventually, inevitably, the Mad Dragon was able to tag in and change the complexion of the match completely. He hit highly impactful strikes and flying blocks before delivering a devastating H-bomb to Pagano to pick up a win alongside his mentor. Backstage, Chad Gable bumped into El Grande Americano. The two old rivals squared up before Gable said that it seems as though they have similar problems right now with their teams letting them down. And Gable then said that last week, when Dr. Wagner beat El Grande, it was a big loss for the Masked Patriot in what was probably the biggest win of Wagner's career. Just then, Wagner showed up. He had puppets with him and mocked the conversation we just heard where Gable said it was the biggest win of Wagner's career last week. He then threw the puppets on the ground and told them that the win last week was just a Tuesday to him. But it's interesting that both Gable and El Grande were considering ditching the groups that made them relevant before leaving the champ and his longtime rival stunned. Backstage, Elio Lafleur was hanging out with the veteran Aerostar, who said it was time for him to go. He said he'd been leaving the young Frenchman to look after himself for a while, as he needs to head to some different timelines and find out what went wrong here. He needs to find out what happened to the Order, to the Black Lotus Triad, and why Matanza is still alive here. Elio looked saddened, but he understood what has to be done. Lola Vice and Mike Santana clicked well here. Their fiery relationship and anger towards each other seemed to help them fight off the constant 2-on-1 attacks from the Hyenas, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. Vice was brilliant, hitting strikes, throws, and making the laughing high flyers squeal in submission attempts. But the arrival of Vikingo at ringside changed everything. If there's a man Lola hates more than Santana right now, it's Vikingo. And she couldn't focus. In the end, she was put down with a double-team brainbuster super kick combo, and Del Toro and Wilde got their second win in as many matches. Vikingo climbed in, and he knocked Mike Santana down with a super kick to the back of the head before dropping Lona with a running Spanish fly. He stood over the pair and laughed at his actions before Dominic Mysterio arrived out of nowhere. He brawled with Vikingo and dropped him with a slam. However, in slamming Vikingo, he landed on Mike Santana and the backs of their heads collided, and they were both hurt. Dom didn't mean to hurt Santana, just like Santana didn't mean to hurt Dom last week, but Lola Vice did not like that at all. There was lots of combustible elements here. The Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, was stood with his tag team OTM, and he reminded everyone that he pulled Lucien Price and Bronco Nima straight out of the mud, and they will always be loyal to their Pope for saving them, and for the opportunities he brings, including next week, when OTM will have another test against Rayo and Bravo, Los Americanos. Pope said he pulled them out of the mud, and they will take their careers to new heights, and they will go on to eat like kings every night of their lives if they listen to him. The announce team said that Panther Ali and Prince Apollo of Lagos would return to the temple soon, and OTM will be their first targets after the newcomers took them out on their arrival in Lucha Underground. In an effort to try and lift the spirits of the crowd, one of our session bands, Mariachi del Infierno, played their song for the live crowd and got them excited for the next match. The low-key legend Natty was on form tonight as she searches for a protege that she and her husband TJ Wilson can pass their skills on to, as she wants to continue the Hart name and continue the excellent work that they've done in wrestling when she's gone. On this evidence, it won't be Lapapa. He didn't take the match seriously enough for Natty's liking, and she took great pleasure in taking him down and tapping him out with her sharpshooter. In a high-end club, Matanza relaxed into his seat while Dario Cueto talked wrestling strategy with an unimpressed Tony D'Angelo and Angel Garza. Dario knew he had Matanza to keep him safe, and he acted like a know-it-all loudmouth bully. The calm Tony D and Angel are not pretending to be anything, though. The cartel members have a quiet confidence about them. But in the back of their minds, they knew Matanza could take them both out on his own. Just then, everyone stood up, as Santos Escobar returned from his quest with Muertes, but on his own. Now it would be 3 cartel members against Matanza if things got physical, and there was an air of confidence around the group. Santos smirked at Dario and said that he left Mil with the man who has the gauntlet. If he comes back without it now, that's on Mil. Matanza growled, but Dario put an arm across his chest and said that it was time to leave, because they had a different mission tonight. Lucha Underground Tag Team Champions Ethan Page and Chelsea Green were on vacation, sipping champagne and eating fruit on a private yacht somewhere hot, as the sun began to set. Ethan said that Chelsea was so worried a few months ago that she wouldn't be able to live this life, but all she had to do was trust him. Lucha Underground isn't so scary, plus they have the Page protection spray to help them if needed. It's anti-spirit, anti-growth and anti-bad energy. And speaking of bad energy, Chelsea did remind Ethan that they are teaming with 2 other people next week that they don't know yet to fight the Lucha Underground champion Chad Gable and the Trios champions the Cartel. It's a very special episode, the 150th in Lucha Underground history, and all the champions will be in the main event. As for tonight's main event, the Samoan Destroyer, a perennial badass, Samoa Joe, stomped to the ring to a huge ovation. He's beloved by the fans and feared by his opponents in equal measures. But Rey Fenix fears no one. The High Flyer has changed a lot in the last few months, and his different approach has cost him a best friend in Dragon Lee and a brother in Penta, and tonight it almost cost him a few teeth and potentially his life. Joe was on a revenge mission because Fenix cost him a shot at the Lucha Underground title a few weeks ago, and he wanted to put the Bird of War away quickly and move on so he could tackle Dario Cueto's monsters on behalf of The Undertaker and AJ Styles. Fenix put up a fight and Joe was staggered at times, but the big Samoan had his way with Fenix for the majority of the contest. However, just as he closed in on victory, the referee caught a flying kick from Fenix and was down. And this brought out a man that Joe did not want to see here. The monster Matanza. Flanked by Dario Cueto, he slid into the ring quickly and dropped Joe with a huge power slam. Fenix loved it and hit a flying corkscrew splash right as the referee came to and Joe was pinned. Nobody has ever lifted Samoa Joe up like Matanza did after the match, and he dropped the big Samoan in the middle of the ring. Dario Cueto then handed him a chair and he slammed it down over Joe's back, his legs, and left him in an absolute heap. Dario, Matanza and Rey Fenix then left the arena together. The announce team asked, has Dario Cueto taken Fenix into his group? Question for you now, and let me know in the comments. With Matanza, Mil Muertes and Rey Fenix backing up Dario Cueto and Samoa Joe down and out, who will El Jefe The Undertaker turn to protect both him and the temple? And join me next time in episode 150 of Lucha Underground. The main event will feature all 6 champions of the temple as the tag champs Ethan and Chelsea team with 2 non-champions to fight Lucha Underground champion Chad Gable and Trios champions the Cartel. Plus, we see what Mil Muertes got up to in his hunt for the Gauntlet of the Gods, and OTM return to in-ring action. Thanks for watching. Now make sure to like, comment and subscribe for free so you never miss an episode. It'd be great to hear from you.